What is up, YouTube? My name is Evan, and if you like what you see today, don't be afraid to show it by tapping that like button down below. I am bringing you a deck today featuring dark types, and specifically we're going to kind of be focusing on the Darkrai from Breakpoint. His Dark Pulse attack is the one we're aiming for in this particular deck, and the idea is rack up a bunch of dark energies on all your Pokemon, and then hit your opponent for 20 damage for each one everywhere on your board, plus 20 is the base damage for Dark Pulse. So pretty powerful, and there's a lot of good dark synergy, so we won't belabor this anymore. There are 3 Darkrai EX in the deck. And to kind of help him set up, and of course to just be generally awesome, we have the Oblivion wing Yveltal, just the regular old one, who can put in pretty good work against a number of decks. He sports Fighting Fury Belt and stuff like that really well, and of course, like I mentioned, he's going to be setting us up with lots of dark energies. We've got 2 Yveltal EX. You could debatably run 3, but I think 2 is quite enough. I mean, he's usually 2 at KOing everything anyway, and you can easily go get him, so we are just running 2. His Evil Ball is the attack of choice, of course, but Y-Cyclone can be good tactically as well. So just another good hitter in general. And we couldn't very well run any kind of a dark deck without Zoroark. Well, I suppose we could, but it just wouldn't be as much fun. His Mind Jack is a very powerful option for knocking things out. He's obviously just not an EX, so he's only going to cough up the 1 prize. And his stand-in is a very good combination with some of our Pokemon who have retreats we don't really want to pay. To get him set up, we're running the Zorua with Moonless Madness, as it is kind of the slightly better option if we have to tag a Dark Energy onto him to attack with. And we are running 1 copy of the Fright Knight Yveltal. He can be a very good lead, and in certain situations, his ability can be very useful, as its nullification of tools can make Spirit Links useless. It can also take off that 40 HP from things carrying Fighting Fury Belt, and so on. There are a lot of really cool uses for this Mon's ability. And his attack dealing 60 to bench Pokemon EX means he can 2-shot Shaymins that are on the bench, which is of course really nice. And just set things up for KOs with your Darkrai and your Yveltal EX pretty well. So he's a nice Mon. He powers up for a Dark and a double colorless. We are running 1 copy of Jirachi. There are just so many decks out there running double colorless energy. It would almost be a crime not to run him. He seems to conflict with our Yveltal EX, but remember that guy is sort of a secondary string attacker anyway. And this guy's ability to dodge effects of attacks by using his Stardust means you can also get another turn to sort of attach energies and set up your Darkrai's again. So definitely a good addition to the deck, and in the matches where you don't need him, just don't bench him, of course. We've got 2 copies of Shaymin EX as well, just for its setup. It just makes more sense than Octillery in this build, so we're going to be running 2 Shaymins. Getting into our supporters, we're definitely running 4 copies of Sycamore. It sets up our dark energies, obviously, so that we can start hitting with Yveltal right away and setting him up with Oblivion Wing. And he's just the best gosh darn card drawing card in the format still. So we're running 4. It's pretty direct, pretty straightforward. We definitely want to hit him. Thanks to Fates Collide, we can now run N again, which is just absolutely fantastic. We've got 2, because with a Versus Seeker, we don't really need more. And you don't need too much defense for this guy, but just for those of you who aren't terribly familiar with him, his card drawing early in the game is quite deep, as it'll draw you 6, maybe 5 if you picked up an easy knockout on your first turn, but realistically in those first few turns it's 6. And then late in the game it can definitely punish aggressive opponents by reducing their hands to almost nothing. So he's always good. He definitely beats Judge and Professor Birch's observations. We got 1 copy of Lysander because, well, Lysander, it should be obvious by now. It's pretty much staple, and it's not without cause. We've also got Hexmaniac because there are certain things out there that could definitely pose a problem to us. Things like Carbink or Pyroar. Those things, you know, they may not be the most common, but they can still be very problematic. And there are a number of other Pokemon, too, that we might want to shut off, such as Vileplume. So Hexmaniac is kind of an important option to have hanging around in there, and we're definitely going to want it because of the way our deck is built. And finally, we do have Zoroark. The ability to pick off tools and special energies is just a little too advantageous for us in this particular deck. So we are going to run this. Once again, picking off those Fighting Fury Belts can be very powerful. Now, as far as our items and whatnot go, it's pretty straightforward. We got 4 Versus Seeker, also practically staple to really maximize the utility of our supporters and always kind of have the right one. We've got 4 Ultra Balls. This can ditch us some Dark Energies and extra copies of mods we don't need to make sure we get our setup, get that Zerork out and whatnot in a timely fashion. We've got 2 Battle Compressors, just 2. This can set up our supporters in a couple of Dark Energies, but that's really all we need. We don't need to send, a million billion Dark Energies to the discard pile. So just the 2. And that should be good. We've got enough power to draw into them and whatnot that we don't have to worry about running a 3rd. We're running 4 Fighting Fury Belts because pretty much everything in the deck except Zerork really wants this. Pushing our EXs over 200 is very powerful and going to take us out of 1-hit KO range for most opponents. And the extra 10 damage doesn't hurt. And of course, it also makes Yveltal challenging to one-shot, to say the least, so we can really get our mileage out of our Yveltals thanks to that card. We are, of course, also running 2 Float Stones to support Zerork, and in a pinch, get somebody else out of the active slot if we need to. So we do have that. And we are running 2 copies of Reverse Valley as our stadium. It was kind of a hard pick for the stadium in this deck, as we do have some weaknesses that we might like to negate with Shadow Circle, but I have opted for Reverse Valley just because the 10 bonus damage from Reverse Valley combined with the 10 extra damage from Fighting Fury Belt is, of course, 20. And since our main attackers all deal even amounts of damage, that means we might just pick up a KO on a 180 HP Pokemon that we wouldn't otherwise, which is kind of relevant. So because of math, we're going to opt for Reverse Valley instead of Shadow Circle. But you could certainly make a good argument for Shadow Circle, and you're welcome to try it. I just feel like I want to go for a little bit of extra damage here. And to kind of help us utilitize and get through, I don't know if utilitize is a word. Well, it is now. I'm going to Shakespeare this stuff, make up a word, and you know what? Now it counts. So I'm going to utilitize the rest of our deck with 3 copies of Trainer's Mail to kind of make sure we get what we need when we need it, hopefully. And energy-wise, it's pretty straightforward. We are running 10 Dark Energies. Yes, we're running 10 Dark Energies. And we're running 10 to kind of make sure that we've got enough to make Darkrai happy and consistently drop them. We definitely want to hit our energy drops, and by discarding them to the discard pile with Sycamore and Ultra Balls, we still want to have enough that we can still draw them even after battle compressing them and whatnot. We still want to get them in our hand. So that's the reason for 10. And of course, we're running 4 double colorless energies because so many of the Pokemon in our deck do want this. And yes, Darkrai does want a double colorless energy. I mean, think about it. If Darkrai EX is active, you can just slap a double colorless energy on him and keep all your Dark Energy safe on your benched Pokemon. And that way, when that Darkrai gets knocked out, you don't lose any Dark Energy, so the next Darkrai can come in and keep hitting just as hard. Or, if you're attaching more Dark Energy, of course, potentially harder. And that's how we can potentially set ourselves up on that path to getting 1-hit KOs, or at least threatening them against our opponent. So that is the deck. It's a pretty solid Darkrai EX deck. Definitely go give it a try. And until next time, like, comment, subscribe, check me out on Twitter. The link is below, and I will see you next time.